Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, where you join us today. We already see people that just excited to be here and they don't wait us to ask anymore. But if it's your first time, we love to see where are you connecting from today. So please type in the chat, where are you from? I'm talking with you guys today from Brazil, and we have our webinar today on-farm soil food web innovations. This is part of our series, Impactful in Soil Regeneration, and it's my pleasure to be here with you. So this webinar series, last week we had a lot of fun with Nick Pedwick, who is also with us today. Thank you, Nick. And we talked about large-scale composting and regenerative farming. Nick wowed us with his large-scale composting, windrows of 1.5 miles. I'm still trying to process all amazing information we heard last week. So go to our website and you can watch the replay as many times as you need. Today, we're gonna hear from Ib and how he worked on farm soil food web innovations. It's also another beautiful webinar. I had the privilege of some sneak peek, so I'm curious to hear from Ib how he's running his experiments and inventing devices, especially the devices, Ib. We are really wanting that. And your new ways of doing things for many, many years. Next week, we're gonna hear from Reynolds, and we're gonna talk, Reynolds will talk about revolutionizing tobacco farming with soil health. He will cover how he's working with tobacco farming and all his experience of cutting fertilizer costs and just enhancing the yields. And after that, we're going to have webinar 4, where we're going to hear from Todd Harrington about ecological land care, consultant's playbook. So don't forget that you can always go to our website to rewatch all the replays. And Ib's presentation will be live in up to 24 hours. So just to refresh some of our guidelines, I know that majority of you guys know how it works, and we appreciate all your dedication as attendees. You guys will be muted during the duration of this webinar because we can ensure good audio quality for all the attendees. If you have questions for the panelists, please type the Q&A session in the Zoom. It will be a black bar in the bottom of your Zoom window. And use the chat to talk with other attendees, and if you need help from our staff. We have a lot of people helping you there. And as always, enjoy this beautiful day. So just to put some order of the day today, we're gonna have a 10 minutes of introduction. Then Ib will present for 45 minutes. And we're gonna go over a quick video about our promotion October offer. And then we're gonna jump in on the Q&A session. It will be about 2 hours length on today's webinar. So let's go to introduce our panelists today. First, we have Dr. Elaine. I know that we love you and we know you, but please, Dr. Elaine, talk a little bit about yourself.
Oh, goodness. I've been doing this since I was a kid. My dad would take me out on the river into the areas where he was keeping track of the horses and the pigs and the cows and all of those sorts of things, and teaching me about the balances of things in the soil. They hadn't really gotten around to try to identify what those were, and certainly the common attitude was there was no reason to worry or think about or even consider those organisms in the soil because they didn't actually do anything. Just because you can't measure it doesn't mean it's not doing something. So right from the very beginnings, starting my work at Texas A&M in marine microbiology, at Colorado State University in starting the understanding of the soil food web, and onto yeah, too many people in my lifetime.
Yes.
So we've all been working together, and we're really realizing that there's a fair amount of variability, but it all focuses in and around a particular amount of bacteria or fungi or protozoa, depending on what you're trying to grow. And depending on the diseases and pests and stuff that you don't want to have growing in any of your soils. So that's what we're doing. We're teaching everybody else in the world, come on, we can all do it, especially it'll go faster if we all do this together.
That's true. Thank you, Elaine. Now, Ib, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm not starting the presentation yet, but yeah, I'm a farmer from Denmark, and I've had a farming background and been a farmer all my life. Had a farm for 20 years with 110 hectares and 500 sows. 20 hectares organic, 9 of the 20 hectares that was organic strawberries, and a lot of work. And we quit that, we went out of that, and then we got a job at a boarding school for 9 and 10 graders. And I'm the farm manager, and I teach farming and soil food web in choice of subject. And yeah, that's what I'm doing. And then I have this lovely research farm for soil food web use.
Yeah, thank you, Ib. And I have the honor to now have you as our colleague. So you're also a mentor for the school, and I'm excited for all new things we can do together. Thank you, Ib. Nick, we hear about you last week, but you were kind of shy. So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Carla, God, if only. So I'm a farmer's son from Hampshire in the UK, and I've been in mainstream agriculture all my working life, managing very large very commercial businesses across the UK, and then have an opportunity to travel a bit to Argentina and Italy, farming out there. I'm currently farming at Wild Ken Hill, which is near Sandringham Estate, on the east of the UK. Amazing place. And I fortunately stumbled across Elaine in 2021 when I was so disillusioned by what I was seeing as a farmer. And as I'm getting older and grayer, I've become very cynical with our current farming model. And so I did the foundation course, which took me a year and a full-time job as well to complete, and then just loved it so much. And, Elaine's changed my life. So I then went in to do CLP, and thankfully have just finished my CTP, and now got my own business called Wild Soils, which is great, supporting and helping other farmers. As Elaine said, we need to do this together. Everyone needs to be doing this. And like Ib, I've also had the privilege of becoming a Soil Food Web mentor.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. I'm excited for the whole new things we can do together as a team, and I know that we're going to do that. So thank you, thank you. I'm Carla Portugal. I'm your host for today. Like Nick said, I had the beautiful surprise to stumble on Elaine's path in 2019. So I'm excited because Dr. Elaine allowed me to fill the missing pieces of my big puzzle that was always, how can I connect all the beautiful knowledge we have in academia with the field? How we make this transition to really make all this knowledge be useful in everyone's life. So I found this path here at the school, and I've been privileged since then. And I can only say thank you, and especially for you guys that are listening to us. You are the reason why we are here, and we appreciate all the support you give to us in every single webinar. So without further ado, I will pass the presentation to Ib, because we are here to hear about him today.
So am I going to share the screen?
Yes, please, Ib. You should be able to do that now.
Yeah. Okay, I can see it. Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm Borup Pederson, Danish farmer and mentor at the Soil Food Web School. I've not actually got any clients yet, but we're getting there. And I have my own company, IBP Farming, initials and farming. And then I am a full-time teacher and farmer at a boarding school, as I told you just before. And this lovely setup, just a moment, can I scroll? Yeah, I did. Okay. The farming background is, as you can see, I had this pig house in the bottom, and I had before I got to buy that, or built that, it's called, I had 13 years of farming experience in Denmark and England, and on all sizes and types of farms. And so I've been a farm owner from 1995 to 15, with this, what I told you, 110 hectares, where 9 of them was with organic strawberries, because I had one man employed and we needed to have some job all year. No, but I got a job at this lovely school, boarding school, where for 9 and 10 graders. And what is really nice about this from the soil food web perspective is that it comes with a 42 hectare arable land farm that is just ready to be made into full of experiments. So I can make all the experiments that I please, as long as I keep my budget and so on. But really, soil food web should not hamper the budgets. So in that way, we are good to go. And I use the biology on all of the fields now. So in order to get a clean farm, I'll have to move away from this one. Yeah, I started my company in 2023 when I had graduated as a consultant, and I have had a number of customers in that period. As soon as I started at the Soil Food Web School, I started teaching children soil food web in this subject of choice they have, and it's 2 hours a week. We do experiments, we make compost, and we make extracts, and they get some theory about the soil food web, and that's quite good fun, and it also gives a good way into making a lot of interesting experiments. And the Soil Food Web School is the theoretical background you are getting. And then when you graduate, then you really have to show off that you can do the jobs. And but getting to be graduated, you need to do a lot of experiments so that you can pass the exam, because it's a physical exam. On the internet, it's a little bit difficult to explain, but it actually very neatly strung together. And I just say that make the experiments that you can get time to do, and as many of them as possible, because it all gives you confidence when you have to go out and tell farmers that you can do this. So there's a large apple core on the left there. Elaine calls them apple cores. I call them jordspyd. But it's one I made myself. So it actually works very well. And this is some of the other tools. I'd like to get a license to fly one of those big drones. You can put a kit up on it on 45 kilo and it'll fly away. But I think you need a complicated license to be allowed to fly that one. But the rest is here from the school. It's we make machineries to fit to the Soil Food Web system. We make tea brewers and front tank on tractors and things like that. This is some of our farm machinery. It's not the newest high-tech. We like to buy things without too much electronics, so we can take it in the workshop and rip it apart and put it back together again. And it's also part of the education here at the place. I've done small plots with this area of Rhye we have turned down to see if we can be as good as some people in America are to grow the corn and maize, corn and soya. But I find out you don't go alone. You have to put some nitrogen on as well, because else you don't have enough energy. And yeah, we make compost through an old muck spreader. It's not for super large scales like kilometers of compost lines, but it has the advantage that you always end up with a line the same height regarding how long you are in the process. It just gets shorter. And it is actually a very cheap setup. Yeah. We in the summer, there is a lot of good things with being a Soil Food Web consultant, and that is you know what to do in your holiday. And so in the summer we had help from Anna from Italy and Margit from Estonia. And they will both end up with absolute super consultants, I'm sure. They've got the wits with them, and they like to work. And in the bottom picture there, it's a professor from Copenhagen University, Barley in the blue shirt. He is also a Soil Food Web apprentice, or what do you call it, on the way. And some of his staff, we're out visiting one of my clients on Zealand. And it's a no-tillage farmer, but he does it the chemical way. But he knows all about what he is, and he is cutting down on chemicals. And he is you'll hear more about him, because I think that he's getting the right ideas, and he is definitely good at whatever he's doing. We have at the university last year, I worked for Professor Barley there, and I think was at 192 or 6 plots in this experiment, and about half of them was with compost applied, vermicompost applied, or teas or extracts or everything in, and then there was other biostimulants. Unfortunately, well, I can't show you the published study because it's not published yet, but it will come. And for 2023, this year, 2024, we had the wettest year in history, as long as recorded. And the year before, it was the driest in record. So it's really a big change. And last year, we just took a hit on the biology, because it was dry before we started. And we just never got started. And I never found a single organism that I can say, this is mine, in the field. So well, we will see what the final results are, but I think we need to have a little enhancing glass in front to see it. Okay. The way we make compost here at the School of Work, it's we do all the systems. We do Elaine way, where we have a net, we put it in, and we take it down and build it up again. We do the David Johnson or Sue Johnson one, and we end up with okay compost. This was not the case in the start. How I made a few stacks that was drowned, dried out in the bottom. Yeah, at like 30, and all made by hand. So it's a lot of tough turning. But I'm quite determined to get things done when I get started. So else I would have given up a long time ago. And but I can do it every time and get success of the compost now. I have finally cracked the code. I make this one This is when I make this compost, we start with a muck spreader, do the heating phase, because we think a fork is hard work, and the students think that hard work needs to be done with hydraulics. And so it's so we make it with a loader and a muck turner spreader. And then when we had the heat phase, we pip it up here with a loader. And this was my way of doing it first time with a fork. I chucked all 30 ton, whatever, 40 ton in by hand. And that's hard work. And then I went in and lifted them up the next day. But we finally found out that it's better to, because it is aerated and you can actually poke the fencing post straight down in it. And you don't need to have a hole going through the pallet in the bottom. We have a pallet with a fish net on top, or insect net on top. And then we just dose everything in as high as we can with a mini loader. And I go up and get my fitness training with this stick with a bar on top. And I can feel it the next day. But it's okay. This is pictures from the muck spreader doing the first or second turn now. And we have the Johnson Sewer up the top. We have the Elaine in the back, because I don't have the ground cover sheet. And then outside, I have filled up this room that is on the top right there, the compost, and I made a silage clamp, if you like, outside for the next lot of compost. And I took my fencing drill and just a straight pipe and make like a cement drill bit in the end, welded on it. And then I put 2 rods up the side. And then when it can make a hole in about 3 seconds. And then, okay, the one is a little bit heavy and it has to be lifted above my head to change over and then down again. But it's lots easier than pushing it down by hand. Then when we make extract, we have tried everything. We do the one in the massage in the back. We have done the Gopa, I think it's called. I looked at it and then I could make a coffee of it myself. But I don't use that much anymore because it makes brilliant extract actually. The bubbling in the bag and that is in the filter bag is good. There is so the capacity, that's an issue. Because when you are a farmer and if you think about going out to farmers, they're not small farmers. And they would like to fill a 4-ton sprayer in an hour. And then they want to spread that in the next hour and come back again. So this is hard work if you have to do it with just one tank. I think you would have to very few kilos per hectare, else you wouldn't get fed up. So we escalated. I thought the Gopa there was too slow. So I went up and tossed it in a cement mixer, 20-25 kilo in, filled it up with water until it ran out. And then I have this sieve underneath. I let it go for about half a minute, 40 seconds, and then I tip it out. And that's enough to get the biology off. And then tipped it out into the potato germination box, but it's a sieve. And I just rock it up and down, and it falls through same time as I spool it. That works. And then I put it up in the tank. And then it don't work no more, because when you put it in that big filter there, then it's like a coffee filter. Everything just gets stuffed in the coffee beans, if you like. But it looks like, yeah, fine bits of wood chips and so on. And it just clogs up. And I've tested the system compared to the Gopa, and I end up with half the fungi. And all the bacteria, they get out, but half the fungi. And but it has a much larger capacity. So we have actually used that for a couple of years. But now we find out that we can do much better, because the one on the left is extractor I made. The barrel is very cheap, but I made a stainless steel insert that holds a net and an aeration system. And that's not super expensive. Everything rust proof is not super cheap, but it's a very easy to go to financial overcomable solution for any farmer. and it can do 100 kilo per hectare. You just have to dig it out with this kitchen strainer. You can put 25 kilo in at a time, and then it takes 6 minutes, and you can start digging it out again, and it's all clean wood chip. And this is filtered down to 0.45 millimeter. And the one on the right, it's for a big onion and salad grower that I work with, and he needed more capacity, so I invented that one there. I like to invent things, and then we had it made, but it's not in the same price range like the other one. You can get 8 of the other ones for one of these, but the capacity is up to 300 kilo, and you don't need to wear a waterproof suit. So that's a good thing about it. Both the system can use any compost, even if you got stones in it. It don't matter. If you get a lot of stones, your barrel there will all of a sudden clog up and not function anymore. But if you fill the filter with stones, you can't blow through it. But that's all. We make experiments on the farm, and children, they like anything that make noise, and this machine does, and so that's good. And when we have taken the silage, then we have my field plots left, and we drive. It's a 3 meter wide band, and we drive in the middle of it with a forage harvester, and then we tip it on a sheet, and we fold it together, and we lift it with a loader and weigh it. That way we can measure the yield. So we have a few kids doing this with weighing, and we have one who goes out and see if he can get it in the trailer. Else you have to take it in the trailer by hand. And that actually works. This grass gave a 4% increase from using biology, but I was hampered a little bit by that we have a sort of clayish soil in places. And the autumn before, we took silage end of September, start of October, and it was not super dry conditions. So by the time you're driven with the mower, we spread it, we rake it together, and he comes with the baler, and we go in and pick it up again. You have driven on nearly all of the field, minimum 2/3 of it with wheel marks. So you made a lot of compaction, and in those spots, it's hard life for the biology. So I didn't manage to get the biology up on the levels that it was in the grains the year it got established. And this is something we have to worry about grass, whether it's cattle walking on the fields or it's machines that is doing the compaction. We need to find out a way that we can keep the soil aerated, because if it's not aerated, you can't really get started with your biology. It's not possible. And as I made a subsoiler now that we can go nice and slowly with, but it's well, the cattle it's very overly, and I think it would be a better idea to make like a roller type idea with points on that can aerate the tops of the soil a bit. But there is an issue here, and I hope that when you get further on and you have more organic matter, we have about from 2 to 4% in our soil organic matter, and if we get more and we get more penetration of water and things, I think that maybe we don't see the system in the same problem with compaction. But definitely, we will have to cut the grass when the grass needs to be cut. And that's it. If it has rained, and you're a few days late, farmers will go out and drive as soon as they can, because else they lose the quality. And then you have to go out and do something about the field after. Yeah. Okay. I have a greenhouse on Fyn, where we have been a 17 hectares greenhouse, and it's got 2 hectares organic. So I got in there and I said, I would like to try this out. It don't cost you a thing. And can I use your greenhouse and experiment plot? And he said, yes. And I'm really happy with that. I got over there and I got 6 times 100 meters of large tomatoes, 6 cherry tomatoes, and 6 cucumbers. And I used in all 30 kilo of compost for all these lines, made them into extract. I just put them in a big barrel and a wheat hoe. I just went for half a minute up and down, and then I put it through a sieve, and that was it, out in the sprayer. No nozzle, just drip it out in the lines. And when I came back 10 days later, the protozoa had gone from absolutely nothing to about, I don't know, what was it? Yeah, 150,000. It is humid, it's warm, everything just love biology. But this, he used compost as bedding in there. It actually, there were so high salt levels in this that you could not grow any weeds. There was no weeds in this organic greenhouse. And there was the lid capacity, what is that? How much salt is in the ground? There's so much in that no seeds can germinate. But he put about 2 tons of nitrogen per hectare in that house. He grew 400 tons tomato and 600 tons cucumber per hectare. So he's really high yielding. You can see the fungi keeps growing up, and then, well, the one with 34, it's, I don't know, we found out that you can overwater in places and you can underwater in places. So it gets too dry, there's hardly any biology. And when you take samples, you take a mix of, and so it's a little bit how I have taken the samples, I think. But there's a steady incline, and then there was a drop, and that's because he got an insect attack that simply just took all his leaves. And then he was down to square one, and it started up again. But of course, there's no energy to the biology, so nobody feeds the fungi, and they still come and eat it. So you get less. I have a lot of data on this, but we lack yield data because yields is just not easy when you know how many kilos you should pick in a day. You don't know, you don't pick all the kilos, so how can you calculate? You can't. But I can tell you, in the house, there was only 1% Brix in the tomatoes. When I grow them in my polytunnel, I have 5%. We did a trial with Jerusalem artichokes, and I took half the tubers and put in extract while I was planting the controls. And planting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. And then I went back and I planted with a potato planter. And then I took those that were soaked in extract after. And I thought they would get taller. And I was a little bit annoyed to go and find out they were not at all any taller. But then I say, hey, they look denser. But that was because they had 3 shoots and controls had 2. Reeds, what do you call them? Reeds. And the increase was 20% in yield. And the chef at the kitchen was happy because he said they were lots easier to clean because they were bigger. And green boxes are the plus biology on the right and so on. And it's the same number of plants in the same line, just next to each other. I can also say that I've had a double increase in yield, but okay. This is, I did this large job at a salad and onion grower, and I'm a bit restricted in what I can say about it. But so this is, I'll say this, but I'll say what I agreed that I will say on it. And as you can see, the salad trial, I thought it was a good idea to start off with an onion and a salad trial in my polytunnel. I don't know why I took onions, because at that time I had put the biology on the onion seed, just seeded and as an extract sprayed out. But I did this from plants, and then I said, okay, there's 60,000 salad heads per hectare. So I take 10 kilo, 20 kilo, 40 kilo, 80 kilo, 160 and 320 kilo per hectare. And I dose that with my pipette into each of these little pots, or roots, or what do you call it, 10 centimeter high when we got them. And and planted them in the polytunnel. I had not given any fertilizer or manure or anything in the polytunnel. So, and there was no biology. It was just left dry over winter. And the interesting thing was, you can see the onions on the left is a control. At the time where we took this photo, the 20 kilo and up to 300 kilo compost had about 5 times the weight per onion. And so we decided 20 kilo was the sweet spot. And then, as you can see, the control is 33 grams when we housed it, and then the 10 kilo per hectare, which is split with 60,000 plantings of fine onions. And because I didn't count it in the salad, because the slugs made sure that experiment went to pot. And well, you can see that 40 kilo gives the best, but I think it's a one-off, because the rest is about 80 from 20 kilo upwards. So we went for that, and then we said, okay, 20 kilo per hectare, but it has to be near the root. So we decided there was a spacing in between, and can you see this loop down the bottom? No, you can't really. But there's a loop, and it puts a little bit of extract on both sides of the salad, because he said, I don't want to put anything on his salad leaves, just not to have any worries. And then I made this little tool for the abstract sprayer, and I went up and down, and there was over 10,000 salads in the treated and the same in the non-treated plots. Then we gave 100 kilo compost per hectare to make sure that we get 20 kilo in near the roots, because he's come with his mechanic hoe, and it just wipe out the biology in between. So that's what we did. And with the onions, I sprayed it straight after he seeded, and I sprayed it again 10 days after. And already then the biology was up. But I can say about the yields, it gives in the same band as we normally see in grain crops. And we see an increase of average 8%, but it can go from 0 to 20%. So it's in that band, 0 to 20%. I can't go any further. And but I can tell you, the farmer, he used it. He bought 18 or 16 tons compost off the school this year, and he used the system. It's another guy who runs it out there. But 0 to 20%, and it can be very sometimes frustrating if you really think that everything is mechanic and it just works. It don't. It depends. And you can have barley peas on the one side of the fence. They give absolutely nothing. Straight on the other side, you can have spelt. It gives 20%. And it's the same treatment. And this is where I have come to, we grow old Danish varieties or old grain varieties for a special market. We have one big receiver that gets them. And they give a better price, but they also respond better, perhaps, with biology. Also, we also have normal straight off the milk crops, but when the old ones tend to have a better connection with biology. And I wonder if the super, not GMOs, but the super refined ones, are they just lazy couch potatoes? Because it could be that they are grown in dead soil that is dead for anything but bacteria. They are fertilized, they are treated with chemicals so they don't get too sick, and they don't really have to defend themselves. But if they start to send out exudates for the microlife, they're just losing that energy for their grains, basically, because they get no returns on it. There is no biology out there. And that could be some of the explanation that I see a difference between crops. It can be one type of modern crop can do okay, and the next one, for some reason, don't. This is what we don't really know. Okay, what we see is we see a higher level of protein in more or less all our cases, and we see water infiltration lots faster. I mean, 60% faster in the onion trial, and but I have also seen 400% faster in my wheat trial this year. And we are very particular with setting the pipes. That we put a 110 millimeter drain pipe. We make a 30-meter piece, and we knock it 15 centimeter in the ground. Put 2 deciliter in, and we count the seconds. How long does it take to disappear? And so we can talk in percent difference, but it's one of the easiest way to check a difference. And Brix analysis more or less always show higher Brix. Okay, this is this year's trial at a conventional farm. I wanted to try and see if we could get life in a conventional field, even if you sprayed. And you can see there's like a frame that's a little bit darker, square. When we look out over the field, that's where the non-fungicide treated part of the experiment is. That was ripe a week before easy. And the rest of it, of the biology treated, is further down to the dense forest. And what we found was that this was what the chemical farmer he chose to spray on his field. I don't know if you know the names or if they're strictly Danish. I think they're not. But I think it's a hefty load, judging from what I did when I was a conventional farmer. And I never seen one manage to mix 5 things in the tank for barley. I never done it, but it gave 20% extra yield. To actually, you note the sidebar is different on the diagrams. The left one is the one that did not get fungicide, and the one that did get fungicide grew 20% more than the control. Actually, the controls versus control was 20% more. And where I had put the biology out on the non-fungicide treated, I get 1% extra yield. But where they are treated with fungicides, I got 5% extra yield. And I think the reason is easy to understand, because I think there was about 50 micrograms per gram fungi in the non-chemical sprayed, and about 120 or so in the other one. Check that one. And I have thought about that it's important to get the biology out near the roots. And this is way back. I think this was, Elaine, it was before I got on your course. I was halfway there. And I made this experiment. I made compost. I mean, nowadays, I thought I was growing a lot of fungi. It was on top, it was like a Christmas man's beard. I know it's not fungi now. But okay, it looked funny in the microscope, and I'm absolutely sure there's lots of homicides, and that's what I used for this. And so I went to my neighbor again. He had been out spraying his field to clear all the weeds, and then I scraped the top 2 centimeters off, and I took the rest of the soil, so it's clean soil. I put in these glass frames. We actually had 8 set of frames. We did a lot. And then I planted 5 grains of barley in each, because that was the area, if you look from above, that should be in. And yes, you can see on the left, that's a control. It's yellowish. It has hardly any roots. There maybe even talk about deformed roots, if anything. And the middle one, I had dripped extract on, like I would do when I used 20 kilo extract in the seeder, and just in the seed groove. And they all had 20 centimeter long roots, and they were different colored. And then we had on the right, I put compost down as if applied 2 or 2.5 tons of compost. And there was only one of them that got 20 centimeter roots. The rest had about 2 or 3. And I connected with that the the compost bit there explains to me, because it's very little compost, and you simply don't get near enough for the roots to start to get contaminated, or what do you call it, enriched by this biology right from start. And then you lose this is the start effect we see here, because it's still young plants. But there's still a little bit from the compost nourishment, and there's also more roots going as they get contact to it. And I think that root contact is absolutely essential. So this is this last year's study in Unicorn, Triticum monocum. Thereabout. Monococum, yeah. Okay. It's a type of wheat. It's actually the oldest grain that was used for humans, I think. But we grow it as a specialty. And I used 20 kilo compost through the seeder, and then I managed to get 10% extra yield. And it's a winter crop. Application through the seeder and 20 kilo compost as extra, first 10 times at one leaf stage, and then 10 times again in the spring, all as extract, yielded 12% different. I can explain that a bit, because I was not quite happy with my seeder. It had a fault, so that some pipes could drag because there was a drop. It could make a vacuum, and it could actually steal biology from the other one. So there was a couple of pipes that sucked air up backwards, and of course they don't get any biology then. And then when I come with a sprayer, I contaminate the rest with good biology. So is that just what I've seen, the 2%? But it was all done on wet ground and not on dry ground, like the university experiment. Okay, 24 crop study. We tried to do the same again in the Unicorn. We did the same, not through the drill, because I was getting fed up with that, because I didn't like it to suck up back air up to some pipes. So I hadn't quite got the new thing installed yet. And I put it on the seed directly. And I didn't think the coverage was unified enough, because they just suck in the water. And so I added a 10 kilo extract per hectare in the autumn and again in the spring. And then we had a little mishap, because we are school. And so the student, he go out and drive, and he has to spray extract on the rest of the field. And he's in my Soil Food Web group, so he should know there was an experiment. But he drive on all of the field. So my experiment had no control. So it was, okay, who had been given on the seeds, one time in the winter and one time in the spring, plus the final treatment, and compared to just once with a sprayer. And that was 2% difference. So really, I think what it tells me is that it doesn't really matter if it's so much, if it's winter or spring, you can still get biology from just 10 kilo compost in the spring. So, yeah, we yielded 3 tons a hectare, but it's a very good crop. Gave 8 kroner per kilo, and that is, I think 3 tons per hectare was good. And but we saw also an increase in protein from 12.4 in the treated down to 12 in the control. We had another type of wheat. This was not my best idea. It was because I knew I didn't have any strong nitrogen to give this, and but there was a grass field, and I thought, well, it should be okay, but yeah, okay. He wanted me to go this salad wheat. And this watery spring was so wet that I didn't get it planted till in May, and this is just minimum 20 days late here. And well, 10 kilo compost per hectare gave an extra 1.5% extra yield. 2 times 10 kilo gave 3.5% extra. Okay, but it was at a good price, so it's still paying it. Brix measured, and in the June, we saw 13.5 compared to 11.5, it's 20% increase. We metered when the picture is taken with a logbook and mark it. And as she thinks she's looking smart there, if she's watching. But anyhow, But that was there was only 0.75% Brix different at that time. But I went out to my friend. We had a study out there. As we make 4 repetitions of each up the field, and this was barley peas at Anderslund. I said to myself, it don't really give anything, but I take everything in. Okay, it gave an extra 25 kilo per hectare. It's absolutely nothing. We did the same 2 times 10 kilo, sprayed out with a knapsack sprayer, and 1 leaf and 10 days later. And plus biology, it gave 12.8% protein, control to 11.6. Brix was 11.75, 11 in control. Fungi was 52 micrograms per gram when it was gathering energy into the seeds, and only 19 in the control. And protozoa was double in the. It was not super high at all. Yeah, okay. But we did, just on the other side, we did oats, also at Anders' fields. We did the same treatment, and we got an 8% increase in yield. And that was quite okay, because that is financially definitely viable. But fungi was only 50 micrograms per gram, very little. I could have done much higher yields had I had 200 micrograms there, because that is definitely possible. Okay, so here at the school, this is my final project when I was a CTP. This is the school, and the plot is where the arrow is, the green bit. It's in a bean field. The barley planted there, it had no fertilizer, and it gave 5 tons. So this is what it looked like. And later and earlier, it's the wrong way. Oh. And we can just inch to see that there is a difference on the left in the 4th plot. On the left there, the one with extract, it seems a little bit better. That one in particular might have given 15 to 20%. We can see, because it's here. And I think it gave, more than 10. You can't see a difference before it's over 10, maybe near 15%. It's impossible. That's why that I very early on found out to get my plot combiner. But you can see this. I have 10% extra yield, 10% extra, near 10 in extra Brix, and 5 times more fungi. And the fungi that had many different colors and was okay. And there was hardly anything in the control. And okay, this is Anders Lund, my friend, and we're in the oat fields where we've just been happy. And Anders, he had borrowed my crop sprayer, and he has made extract and then sprayed out next to the experiment, so we can use the same control. So we metered out 20 meters, or the same length as the other plots, and we harvested them and stopped, and that also gave 8% difference. It was only sprayed once, and so it works. Next year, I have this brilliant idea that I want to test where is the sweet spot. I have lots of different, I normally run 10 kilo per hectare, but I can see some people in Denmark can manage with 2 kilo per hectare. And I want to see where my sweet spot is. So I do all the conventionally managed fields. I will spray with 10 kilo compost per hectare as extract before they apply the weed killers. And then after the weed killers, I will come with 2.5, 5, 10, and 2 times 10. That is maybe the 1 time in the spring. And then I can see put it in a graph and see, okay, where is the best point? And then on the on the organic side here, this is what I forgot to say. On the organic side, my experiments this year is also to try and find out where is the sweet spot. So we do 20 kilo control, 20 kilo through the seeder, no extra treatment. And then we do 2.5 kilo extra on top of the cedar bit, and 5 kilo, 10 kilo, 2 times 10 kilo on top of the cedar bit. And then we do 0 extract in the cedar, 2.5, 5, 10, 20, 2 times 10. Then I can estimate where is the best spot, because I'm myself a farmer and I know what economy means. You definitely make sure that your economy have to be there every year, because else it's not happening. An increase of yield, if you work backwards, say can give 8% in average. A net income increase of typically from $80 to $200 for a commodity crop farmer, or vegetable, fruits, berries, etc. is lots more. And cost of application by crop sprayer, say $20 per hectare. Handling cost, extracts in the cedar be 15. And the cost of compost to make the extract. Okay, I have seen prices from near north to 50 kroner. What's that? Is that 10, 12, $15 per kilo, something like that? And it's up to people to decide where they want to put their pricings. But you can say you can do it yourself, and the materials are really cheap. Like Nick found out, what's that, 0.8 pounds, and I will go along with that. And it's pretty near where I can find, because I also use a lot of scrap materials, and but it will cost. It costs more because I have it in this store, and there is some handling cost on top. But it's also, we shouldn't forget that there is some knowledge into making this. It's not just straightforward to make really good compost. But if you look at it this way, that this is the cost, then the farmer can go in the bank and say, I would invest in this. This looks like a good business already year one. And then they think, okay, you're on. We like to see money. But to make this happen, when you get the farmer started on this, then the next thing is that you shouldn't use it as an extra add-on to your chemical farming system, because I quite consider that could be a case with some of the farmers. But it's really a start of your understanding the context. And then it's a start of, you can pick and choose any of the other ones, but each and every one of the other ones will give you an extra benefit. So I see organic farmer and minimize tillage. Yes, they can stop having it black all winter and killing weeds with the harrow. I never do that. So all people should be able to stop that. But it's take it in as you can. And I think a Soil Food Web consultant's job is to make sure that we handle the biology right, and not to go out and tell tales or tell the farmer something that you don't know anything about. Because if we go out and say about growing your farm no tillage, we could end up being liable. And I think I would say to the farmer, it could be an idea as a biologically, it's the right thing to do, but you might have so many drags the other way in yields because you can't control the weeds, etc. That this is not anything I cannot say for and against. It's up to your temperament if you want to try some of that. But I say keep the soil covered with green all year is definitely a very good start. And if you have a lot of green, then you can definitely cut back off your fertilizer next year. And if you come up over 3.5% carbon in the soil, well, then you're also way to go. It's much easier for your biology to find the energy. Also, I made a new concept. This is my last slide. And I just got my early Christmas present. It's a stinky chemical-filled sprayer, the one on the photo. It is going to come up for a really good clean now. And then I put some nozzles on it and rip all the filters out. And I found some large nozzles in Italy. They have about 2.5 millimeter hole. You take 10 liter per minute and cover 2 meters. And then I am definitely good to go without any blockages if I use any of my extractors. I will then take my extractor and stick on not that trailer, but one similar in size. And then I can have a couple of tons compost on the rear of it. And then I put that on the rear of the sprayer, and the farmers can come and hook it up and drive home and use it and deliver it back again. Or another farmer can pick it up there and I can deliver the compost to them or whatever. That way, I think I can cover a lot of hectares. And I'll do this for a net price of $30 per hectare in Denmark. Jylland. Or else I have to drive it with a tractor himself. And that was my presentation. Yes. Okay, shall I stop sharing?
Yes, Ib. Thank you so much for this delightful presentation. I lost track of time. I was absorbing all this information. Thank you so much.
Close on it.
Yeah. Yes. Can you see us?
Yeah.
Awesome. So while we have some time to fully grasp all this beautiful information Ib shared with us, I have a video to share with you guys about our promotion, and you can hear a little bit the benefits and how to join our programs. Can you see my screen? Yeah, awesome. Okay. So, sorry, yes, just need to make sure that you guys can hear me. Can you hear the video?
When we're talking about the soil, we're talking about the base of everything.
Even our health depends on the health of the soil.
All the sickness and disease leads back to where you live, how you live, and what you eat.
People don't want to use the chemicals, but they don't have any other way.
It's not a desire problem, it's a knowledge problem.
Everyone needs to have some awareness of what our Earth is experiencing right now and how we can make a big change.
I find that this information hasn't been taught to me, and I had to get off my high horse. And even though I have a PhD, I feel like I'm totally undertrained.
I feel like I'm learning more with this program than I have with in-person classes in the past.
I've taken classes on microbiology before, but this course really makes a difference in the way that a story is put together that unveils the relationships between plants and all those beneficial organisms that we just cannot see without a microscope.
If you're looking for something that does a deep dive into soil biology, this is it. It is just an incredible knowledge base and is really relevant to what's going on right now in the world.
Without it, the only way I could have gained this knowledge would have been by dropping my life and going to graduate school. And that just wasn't realistic for me. But Soil Food Web has made it possible for me to build a meaningful career in land restoration.
I was really nervous. I was going to put quite a bit of money down and not get that bang for my buck. But once I actually got into the FC courses, I was incredibly impressed with how professional they are and actually the level of education you receive. This is the career path I've been looking for in the biological community, and I was having trouble finding.
If you're interested in joining the soil revolution, now is the perfect time. We've listened to feedback and requests for intensive training in compost production and microscopy at an affordable price point, and we've created a new training package that really delivers. With the all-new Consultant Career Starter Package, you can register for the Soil Food Web Foundation courses with Dr. Elaine Ingham for just $3,199, saving over $1,800. You'll receive over 40 hours of lectures and quizzes delivered by Dr. Elaine, and access to the Soil Food Web Community Forum, where you can interact with hundreds of farmers, growers, and budding consultants from around the world. You'll also get Stage 1 of the Consultant Training Program totally free, saving a further $2,000. That's 26 hours of mentor time dedicated to helping you make your own biological compost and develop your microscopy skills to the standard required to qualify as a certified Soil Food Web lab technician. You'll have the option to join our new 10-week Compost Intensive program, where you'll work in a cohort of 20 students through a structured weekly format, featuring live weekly lectures, followed by Q&A sessions with members of the mentoring team, and additional group sessions during the week. This new cohort format is designed specifically for folks who want to work and learn in a group setting and who want the opportunity to make lifelong connections with fellow students and future colleagues. Students who have elected to take the 10-week compost intensive are making faster progress and having greater success with their compost piles because they're learning from each other's mistakes and feeling supported by the group. We've also developed a new 2-week in-person workshop designed to help folks complete their training much faster. Please look out for announcements about Consultant Training Program Accelerator workshops coming in 2025. So to recap, that's the Soil Food Web Foundation courses for $3,199, plus Stage 1 of the Consultant Training Program worth $2,000 for free. Register before October 24th to take advantage of the early bird discount and save an additional $200. There are only 70 places available in the 2024 registration cycle, so please don't delay.
At the Soil Food Web School, we are so confident in the quality of our courses, we proudly offer a 100% risk-free guarantee. Here's how it works. From the date of your registration, you'll enjoy a 30-day window with a no-questions-asked money-back guarantee on the total price you've paid for our courses. The only condition is that you cannot have watched more than 32 lectures of the foundation courses. Your satisfaction is our priority, and we stand behind our commitment to your success. Finance options are now available so you can pay at your own pace with a firm. We look forward to welcoming you to the Soil Food Web community.
Wow, watching these videos is a journey. Like, look back how much we advanced and see many faces that are now consultants is just like rewarding. So thank you everyone that joined us on this program. And don't forget that the early bird ends today at midnight. So take the time you need to register for our courses. And if you have any questions about it, you can always email us at info@soilfoodweb.com for questions, support, whatever you need. We are here to help you. So let's start the Q&A. So Ib, Nick, Elaine, be ready to start digging in on those questions. The first one we have today is that what have been the key benefits of the Soil Food Web training to your career and lifestyle? I believe this is directed to Ib and Nick as well. Ib, can we hear from you first?
Yes, I can. For my, I'm really interested in this, and I have it goes back to that. When I was conventional farmer, I started to go no tillage, and I saw a lot of problems with using the chemicals it involves and the tillage, and I got away from it. I actually went into making an experiment with my pigs just because of that. But we take that another day. But I have seen what biology can do in the fields, and I was ready. And I know some of Elaine's acquaintance, good friends, and I think we have quite a few of our friends are overlapping, and it's I can see that it is what needed to be done, because the chemical treadmill is just knocking on the wall all the time, and I ended up being a farmer who I didn't spray myself the last 10 years, and I just hated that job, and my strawberries was never sprayed, and then I converted them to organic, and I would simply not feed people with sprayed strawberries, and I had, and I saw the benefit in my pig house from not having these chemicals in, and I knew as soon as I heard about Elaine that this was the way to go. So, yeah.
Thank you. Nick?
And I think Susan has something to say, because
yes, please,
also
Susan,
gives
sorry.
It gets plan holidays.
No, yeah, no, you carry on.
Oh, you can say. Susie would say, of course, that it's much easier to plan holidays. Okay? Because you always know that you're in the fields in the summer holiday.
It's true.
I think my story is very, very similar to Ib. You know, without doing the Soil Food Web course, I would never have even dreamt to have started my own business. Being a farm manager, I just was going to be quite happy to take a salary, but I knew things weren't right in our industry, and the time I've got left, I wanted to do something really positive about it after many, many years of doing some really bad things to grow our food. And you know, I've got several clients now who I'm working with, and it's great fun, but I would never have had the confidence to have even started my own business without being involved in the Soil Food Web. So anyone who's sitting on the fence as to whether they can do it, you absolutely can. It's great to be working with some amazing people and really see how you can make a massive change to their farming businesses.
Yeah, I'm biased to say, because I'm on this realm, having the privilege to work daily basis with Dr. Elaine for more than 5 years now, and it's incredible how every new interaction you have with a student, with a colleague, or especially with Dr. Elaine, is always a game changer. You always have some extra point that your mind just blows, just like, whoa, another missing puzzle, another missing piece for my big puzzle. So it's a non-stop learning, a non-stop evolving process. And I think that that's the farmer and a consultant journey. It's always have your mind open. And it's beautiful to see how Nick and Ib is taking this to the next stage, is getting all this critical thinking they naturally have, and all this information they are receiving from the courses, and expanding and developing equipment, adjusting the application system, the techniques. And that's what we are looking for on when we are training our students. So thank you, the both of you, to really showing us that we can do it. Doesn't mean that's easy or fast, but we can do it. So thank you so much. I have no words enough to express my gratitude. And I'm, as a mentor, seeing our students overpassing, it's just refreshing and rewarding. Elaine, I'm going to skip you on this question because, I mean, we know how Soil Food Web changed your life. So unless you want to say something about this.
Well, and it's figuring out the procession of what your plant is doing, what the organisms in the soil are doing. And I think people need to, especially when you're just starting out, you need to be doing a lot more time on the microscope. So you start to recognize, oh, this is going into a thermal time. It's going to get too hot. It's going to get too cold. So what do we do to fix that? And then with the next compost, you might be turning it into an extract, and that's what's going to douse all of those surfaces, the biology in the soil, the weeds, half of the weeds in this, and the way we define them in the US right now, they're not weeds. Those plants belong in that system. It's telling you what's going on down there and when you should be planning on what to do next. So we've got to get that put together in all of the different ecosystems that we're working with. Now, we don't have it completely yet, by a long shot. We don't have it complete, but every place, anything you do, is the important step is the first step. You got to take that first step and start integrating it into all of the things you've seen with your eyes, all of your life, and no one's ever even thought to say to you. They don't think it most of the time, but we've got to take advantage of that ability to understand what is causing higher or lower yield, or better use of water, or there's just so many things.
Yeah. We can spend hours in this question, right? So I'm going to move to the next one, and that's directed to Ib and Nick. As experienced farmers who have developed your own large-scale compost extract equipment, can you share the challenges you face during the modification and development process?
I speak first.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, okay, I did the first by hand, and that gives a very good idea of when it goes bad. And you can definitely see, I have definitely done something really bad here. I overwatered it or anything. And you find out, okay, this is how it reacts. And then I knew that I was going to do it through the muck spreader, but I was not going to start off with that one and make a huge mess. But when I had got check on it in the smaller piles, then it was easy to. I mean, this equipment we bought, I have not bought a piece of equipment for $1,000 yet. So it's super easy to get started. Oh yeah, the mini loader I have, but the muck trailer was under that, and it's already there. There's lots of them in Denmark, at least on the market, old ones, and they actually work, and you're off to go. And it makes life a lot easier because it does all the hard work for you. Yeah, I think. But finally, I think what really made me break the code to making compost was when I found out about the moisture, getting that right. Too little moisture, just not enough happening, and too much, you're finished.
That's true. That's sweet spot, right? Nick?
Yeah, very, very similar again to him. I mean, we started very, very small scale, and we had a lot of learnings over the first couple of years where we, like Ib said, too dry, too wet, too hot, too cold, and then the application. You know, how we started applying in very, 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 very small, and you know the mountain was so high to climb when you have over 1,000 acres to try and cover at large scale, which was, I put that extra pressure on myself to try and change the whole farming business. And that took some time. That really took some time. And unlike Ib, and I'm very jealous of Ib and his equipment, we did spend a bit of money, Ib, I'm sorry. And we went to toe and fur to try and scope this up to large scale. So those steps to get to where you get to are so important. I think Ib would agree, and I'm sure Dr. Elaine would as well. We have to learn, and the best learnings, however many times I've sat and watched Elaine's videos on compost, to make those mistakes yourself, they are just precious. And anyone I speak to is, we've mucked up, we've made bad compost. No, it's a great learning. You know, you've learned so much from that. So yeah, you've got to go through those. It's like a rite of passage to get to learning how to do it properly.
Definitely. When you stand out and you know you need to turn this stack before, because tomorrow it's all actinobacteria. And I stood out there turning at midnight, started at midnight, and 40 minutes to turn a pile and back in again.
I've done that as well, Ib. I've done it as well. Looking at the thermometer before I go home and thinking, we're nearly at 70 now. What is it going to be in the morning? And just panicking, putting in chimneys to try and get it to vent because dear.
Yeah, but like anything in a farm, doesn't have weekday or a clock to show the hour. It's happening, you have to be there and you're gonna do it. But I think that the beautiful portion is that you learn how to have fun with that. So as like the two of you said beautifully, is each step is increase the learning curve. And one of our students, which I love, I'm using this every place is that I don't have a fail pilot. I have a first attentive in learning process. And I think that's what we need to face when we are working with biology. It's dynamic. It will change every single day. So we don't have how to escape from that. Right, Elaine?
Yep. Yep.
And I feel after doing it for a number of years, not like Elaine, I still feel I'm learning so much about my piles and the time when I take my materials, my biomass to make my windrows or my, I'm still learning so much, but it's great fun. It's just fantastic.
It is.
And where
we
are
are biased to say, go ahead, Elaine, sorry.
Where you are on that table where the fungal to bacterial biomass ratio is pure bacteria, you're not going to have much of anything that human beings could eat and live through it. But there's lots of bacteria and a few fungi. And so you start this whole process of growing an ever more complex ecosystem. And as we make that system more a mirror of what those plants wanted and need, what's that fungal to bacterial ratio? We see very important improvements. When we're not seeing those improvements happening at a fairly understandable stepladder, that's where we're not getting that fungal to bacterial ratio off the ground. And they're kind of, they changed from 10 to 1 to 20 to 1 or, 50 to 1. No, we really want to see, especially when we're growing this for a market someplace, we want to see that ratio have a wide, ever increasing ratio for the microorganisms to do the necessary things to get the plants to put out the exudates, to put out the foods that the bacteria, fungi, protozoa, nematodes, yada, yada. And there's the cycle. There's the soil food web cycle. How do you make certain that you don't go beyond the ratio of fungi to bacteria that your plants are really going to grow very well in? Well, get your eyeballs behind that microscope and look at what's happening when you transfer over into a later ratio of fungi to bacteria. Things aren't going that well. And we've got to and figured out that, that exact precise ratio of all of these things in Brazil are quite a bit different from all of the organisms we've got, some in Florida. So you've only begun, everyone here. You have only just begun, but you've got to take it further and further and further along. So we have a hope.
Yeah, and
I think also when we're looking at it before we started, Elaine was saying that yes, I come with this like one or maybe twice two sprays attempt for the farmers. Really, the best idea is to go out with a microscope after you get started, and after just 10 days, you can see if you need to come second time.
Absolutely.
And that it is certain you can, but I can see there is a difference just from one, and I think that maybe we can boost it even more, and the second one can get to pay for. But I'm focused on getting something that farmers know and understand, and that will give a kickoff in the start. Then we can go from there.
That's how a beautiful consultant graduated with us work, right, Ib and Nick? Thank you. You guys are nailing every single step of the program. So let's move to the next question. We have quite a good load of good questions. Ib, Claire want to know a little bit more about the cultivar of onion that you showed us in the presentation. And she also want to know if there's a difference between autumn and spring onions.
So autumn onions is the one that grows longer, I take it. I'm not an expert in onions, but this guy had a lot of onions. And they were all seeded in spring, of course.
And I've always seen quite a bit of difference between spring versus, the fall harvest time. They're quite a bit different.
Yeah. So this farmer here, the spring onions, the early ones he grew like, where you put them in as small leeks, or you take, or you have them grown in trays in a glass house before, and you plant them. So planting onions. This was seeding onions. That's your later ones.
Okay. And which cultivar? Do you remember the specificity of the cultivar, or no? Okay. So Claire, we can get this information later on, and next we're going to have a chance to hear more from Ib in future webinars as well. So next question is continuing onions from Sue. One of my clients is an onion grower. We have done trials with different compost extracts and seen different results too. All better than the control, but one was much better than the other. Are you noticing the same?
Well, no, I can't say, because we only did, as one experiment, it has 4 controls for with biology. It was about a hectare on each, and that went. Also, it was one cultivar all of the field. I take that back. I think there was a little difference in ones, but yeah, but it is not. I can't say anything about different cultivars, but I can say that I went out with a microscope and assessed if I have to give more extract, and if needed, I did.
Awesome. Yeah. Nick, how do you notice these differences in your fields or experiments?
Yeah, I mean, I get quite frustrated with farmers that are putting lots of compost on around here and who are making really, really great compost, or they think they are, without sticking them under a microscope. So for me, I'm always checking the soil before. What's our baseline? Where did we come from? Where do we want to go to? And what are we putting in? That is absolutely fundamental for me, that we because people are putting compost on, but they don't know what they're putting on, so they don't know where they're heading to, in my view. So some of that question was great, but I would straight away ask, as you read it out, Carl, I was thinking, okay, so what level of fungi, bacteria, nematodes, microorganisms was in that compost, and how much they put on? And where was the soil at the start? So that for me is fundamental.
Yeah,
I'm really sorry to do this, but I have reached my limit here. I need to get back to one person before they have to go home. So it's been great. Okay. Ask questions away, and hopefully see you soon.
See you next week. Thank you so much, Elaine.
Yeah, ciao.
Ciao. And I think that, Nick, you touched on a very good point when you said that we have to investigate constantly what I have to start with, how the plant and the soil is reacting, responding. Yeah. And like Ib showed on his data, it really depends what the microscope and the plants are telling me. And that is one of the first lessons Dr. Elaine teaches. Yeah. Always ask and always depends. So
that was great on Ib's presentation, where he could see that journey, that's really important, because he's obviously put it through a microscope. He's put the extracts through the microscope, because what you're making extracts from, your compost, you may be biocomplete when you're making your compost, but are you biocomplete when you've made your extract? In terms of the dilution, what are you going to be putting on? So there's a lot of stuff, and obviously Ib's just nailed it. Absolutely.
Exactly. Okay. Anything else, or we can jump to the next question?
I'm good.
Okay. So Ib, you are the star of the day, so you also going to start answering this question. Has you or any of your neighbors experienced any of the pathogenic fungi associated with onion crops? Thank you for the question, Claire.
Also, from the grower's perspective, there's fusarium issues in onions, and there is always, it's one of the big ones they are fighting with. But I was not the onion expert, understand me. I'm a farmer, and I'm a Soil Food Web consultant, and I can say, okay, I can make the biology difference. It's up to him to see if he notices a difference in the seeds. And yeah. And what they did was that they harvested it and got the yields, and they put it in the store, and they marked some of it so that they would take them out last, and then they will see the difference in how big a sorting. So, they take all the onions home, and then they, when they have had them in the store, they can take them out, and they have an automatic machine that by camera scraps what needs to be scrapped.
Mhm.
And then it's a very tidy farm. It's absolutely, they got super check on it, and you should see the equipment they have. And they then know exactly how many percent goes to the big side or the middle or the little bit smaller or the small side, and how many is wasted. They have check on it all. The computer will
That's
spit out
beautiful.
all the numbers,
Yeah.
no trouble.
Yeah. Nick, do you have anything to compliment on this one?
No, not really. Again, a bit like Ib, I'm afraid I'm not an onion grower. I've grown some, but only on contract. So I'm afraid I can't add anything to that, Carla. I'm sorry.
No worries. So if we have any CTP student that is approaching stage 3, please consider having onions as your final stage project. There is a lot of questions that we want to help you answer. So do not hesitate to demand that. So the next question is from Sue. Ib, did you notice any advantages to having higher Brix, like less prevalence of pests and diseases, or longer shelf life, better taste? How can you talk a bit more about the Brix results?
Yes, I can. The most notable was I had a grass paddock, and we grazed it for as with the cows, and we put extract on multiple times, like every second week, with a sprayer in the half of the field, and the other half we had put pig slurry on once as a fertilizer, and then we. Well, of course, the pig slurry had a lot of nitrate in it, so it started to get very green, and it got off the start early. But the notable thing was there was more than 20% Brix difference to the biology, had higher Brix, and I think it was 14 or more in that one. I'll have to dig out the number sometime, but it's. And when we let the cows in, they will graze the biology side down to football pitch height. And then they will leave some of the also in the other side. So it was definitely the cow's taste was, they knew where the good taste was. And they go by sugar. And I can see that this also we have. Yeah, what else can I see? I've seen another grass field. It was a paddock. We don't ever plow it. We're not allowed to. It's a 1 hectare piece. And it has been a grazing field for horses. And if you know anything about horses, they trample dog leaf out of the ground. So we had a third of that field was pure dog leaf. And last autumn, I went in and I gave it a one spray of extract. I gave like 40 or 60 liter, a kilo of compost on that 1 hectare, because I know I can only drive in there sometimes. So it had a big lot. And it was just that it was starting to rain, so perfect condition. And I didn't think more about it. I started to graze it with cows in a holistic management type idea. They go in 1, max 2 days and out again. And then midsummer, we chucked we cut these dog leaf and carried them off the field, and then we never saw them again. I have never experienced dog leaf to give up the ground on their own free accord. But now we get a bit of ranunkel. What's that? That's a buttercup, and we get clovers and grass, and it's not at all dock leaf. When you see the field, there is no dock leaf sticking up over the grass.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah. And I've not cut the dock leaf this year. It was every year we went in there to do a 60 centimeter of solid dock leaf.
Yeah, I will nerd out again here, sorry, but one of our, he's a consultant, Kevin Krause, anecdotally, after he collected all the data for his final project, he just released the cows in the field, and the cows refused to go on the chemical side. They just stay in the soil food web, and he just like expanding everything. So again, this is also another beautiful project, right? What else besides the biology can help us show that it's really changing the taste, the nutrition value of whatever you put the soil for cattle, for horses, for whatever. And because, I mean, they are like us, they were always going to look for the best food. So how can we show the other farmers that that's what's changing the system for them? Nick, do you have?
Yeah, what is quite interesting, Carla, is that some of when I'm just doing a bit of crop walking and with a farmer, and I take some weeds they've got growing and compare the Brix on a weed rather than the crop that they want to grow. And it's quite amazing that coming out of a nitrate high system, the Brix is normally higher on the weed that they're trying to kill than the crop, and it's kind of healthier. It's, you know, and if we start changing that dynamic under the soil, we'll change that swing. You know, we are now starting to see our Brix levels being higher in our cereal crops and slightly lower in our weed crops. So in the weeds that we're growing. So it's kind of changing. It's all changing because we're changing the biology.
That's true. Do you guys can hear me? My phone just fell short on me. Awesome. Thank you.
All good.
Okay, so I'm going to jump for the next question because I'm excited to have a lot of them. Thank you, everyone. The next one is from Janice. Ib, in your grain trial, what were the specific Brix numbers before treatment versus after? Also wondering if you used a penetrometer to look at soil compaction, and what were your compaction before and after in PSI?
Yeah, also the compaction was very easy, 32 centimeter compact, more or less, and the Brix readings in my final study was, I think, like 10 and 12%, 10 or 12 Brix. With Brix readings, you have to know it depends on the day. If you have a lot of sun, you can get a higher reading than you can if you have cloudy condition. And you can't do Brix on moist leaves. And but Brix is an indicator. It's not science. It's an indicator that you say, okay, this is going the right way. We have some things going here. And I think that, well, depending on what grains we're talking about, the Brix was in the Oats at Anderslund. It was about it was, oh dear, did you not get them? No, the peas, they were about 11 and 11.75, and it was pretty much the same in the Oats.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great Brix reading. You know, we started off when we moved away from chemical applications. We've moved away when we moved away from that. We were getting Brix readings of 4, 3. We've now moved, and we're sub 10, but we've moved the dial. We've come from a very, very low spot. Ib. So your numbers, when you showed them, I was, Brilliant. That's
And
great.
that's
So anything above 10 is cracking.
Yeah, I didn't get much from the greenhouse study I made. I was surprised to see that I could not really test any difference in the Brix in the tomatoes. They were 1% or 1% and a bit. And that was when he had this massive attack of insect that took the leaves out, and minor bugs, I think they call in Danish. They go inside the sides of the leaves and eat the inside, and I just wonder if we had managed to get higher Brix in his tomatoes, that they would be scared off, also not be able to chew the leaves.
Yeah.
And yeah. Well,
yeah, and recently we have also a beautiful webinar with Tom Dijkstra, where he talks about Brix and how we can use those reading numbers to understand the health of the plants. So peruse our website, guys. You can find more information on how to use the Brix numbers as well, to understand the pests and diseases, how susceptible the plant are. But it's like Ib and Nick said, we want higher Brix because this means the plant is more robust, is more healthy, and less susceptible of pests and diseases.
I don't know if we have tomatoes at the school, and I have 5 Brix in the tomatoes, and I haven't. Last year, when I was in the polytunnel, I didn't do so much with extract, and we had mites like spiders everywhere. This year, I haven't had any.
No.
So I don't know if that has got to do with it. But
yeah, absolutely. I'm sure it's got something to do with it. Absolutely, I am. I'm convinced that the higher the Brix, the healthier the plant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. So, Thales, I really appreciate your question because it's also mine, and thank you for posting this question. It is for both Nick and Ib. You guys have created large machinery to make compost on a large scale. What if we don't have access to this level of machinery? What can we do?
I think you need to, you might as well start to be a consultant before you are one. So you might as well find your farmer that you think you can work with. Farmers can be very friendly, and they can be very forthcoming with saying, if you want to do this, maybe you can do it for me. And if it's not really anything that costs me, I mean, I have the machines in the first place, come here and make it. And I know lots of farmers that has loaders, and I know a lot of farmers that have an old muck spreader stood around, or else you can buy one for $1,000, these little ones. And then the materials are basically, well, it's trough waste. It's what the cows don't want to eat, what's left over. It's if you have stored your straw outside, you have some wet straw bales. How can you use them for anything sensible? Compost. And if you have silage bales with a hole in the plastic, okay, they're rotten, part of them, but they can easily be used for compost. Half of them can be rotten, and they're just fine in the compost. And it doesn't matter if they come with a lot of bad fungi; it'll all disappear. So it will change biology. So you have all that, and then I mean the wood chip. You don't need to stand with a little wood chipper. You will cost yourself in wages and time. You can get wood chip at about 1 cubic meter. What's that? $30 maximum. Yeah,
good price.
So it's not that should be the stopping point.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you could also go to a farmer and say, "Can I sweep your barn in the bottom?" It's absolutely or anything.
Since you don't want that, I'm gonna find a good use for it.
Yeah.
How about
and the farmers
you?
tend to have place for it as well. So get in contact with a farmer and say, well, show him my presentation here and say, I want to learn this. Will you help me? And then we can go this way together somehow.
That's awesome.
And I think that some of them would say, okay, this sounds interesting. I would like to go and see this, what you're doing.
Beautiful. Amazing tip. Thank you. How about you, Nick?
Well, we started off with very small amounts of very cheap materials, which we still use, whether it be leaves or stuff from our woodland, very inexpensive. I would like to buy all of Ib's wood chip at that price, because in the UK it's, gosh, you need to double that number, Ib, to get wood chip. So you take it all, or you could resell it to me and make a profit. And in terms of machinery, we started off in a very meager way. We bought a very, very cheap sprayer. I think I paid £10 English pounds for it, and just to get it off this guy's farm, and it got us kind of going. But for my CTP exam, I did everything with a watering can. So we really just changed everything with a tower, and that made probably 200 kilos of compost. And I just did it with a hand squeezing bag, which I bought off the internet. And I used a watering can and got things moving. But hand sprayers. We even got one of those square containers, an IBC, we call them in the UK, big 1,000-litre containers. And we put a pipe on the back and got another bit of pipe and drilled holes in it. I'm sure you've done that as well, Ib. Yeah. Put two ends to it and opened the tap and drove very slowly up the field. You can do it. If you want to do it, you'll do it.
Yeah, the necessity makes the case, right?
Yeah. As the mechanics is not difficult. I have a grower who grows asparagus. Is that right? Asparagus on 0.8 hectares. And he phoned me because he knew I had a lot of nematodes. And he had known that nematodes, some of them, has a lifespan where they will eat bacteria, and then eventually when they have to make eggs, and then they will offer themselves to a beetle or something, or beetle larvae, or they will creep inside the air vents on everything on it. And I asked Elaine, she said, yeah, you would have some of that in your compost. I said, brilliant, I have lots of thousands of nematodes per gram, so why shouldn't I escalate in that? So we took a 600 kilo or 500 kilo compost to this guy, and with my extractor, and I said, put it in a 1,000 liter tank, drive it on the trail. He had a little garden tractor, they couldn't pull it, and then just open the tap in over the line. And then we see what happens next year. I can't guarantee anything, but I know nematodes, you don't need to be super exact because they can actually move. And if they can find prey, I'm sure they'll find it. And it was asparagus beetles he was having a problem with. He ended up only harvesting half the time, then have eaten all the tops of his asparagus, so he couldn't sell them. I never seen so big asparagus. They were bigger than my thumb. Wow.
Beautiful.
But we see what he has next year.
Yep. You are making me hungry, Ib, so I'm going to have to find asparagus for lunch today. So the next question is from Claire. Herbicides are still used pre-harvest of tillage crops to desiccate the crop. Does Ib find he needs to do anything to desiccate the tillage crop pre-harvest?
The tillage crop, we don't desiccate, we plow. We are organic. And I know that, okay, the Soil Food Web is, ideally you keep it alive in your manure crop, and then you, I don't know what you do with it, but my friend Anders Lund there, he has actually got the biggest experiment running on his fields where it says no-till organic. And I mean, out of 5 years, I think he has harvested 2 years. And that's not a thing I'm going to promote to people. Because inorganic, and so they tried everything with rotating in between the lines of seeds, or they tried to move in between, and it's just disaster. Also, if you have anything like clover in, it's so aggressive it will totally take over. And I don't know anybody who has some small seedlings that don't get higher than 10 centimeters. And if I do, that would be so expensive you couldn't plant a hectare before you're bankrupt. And it's the plow I see as an evil thing, okay, but I also see as a very good thing because it can actually make sure that that farmers can get to plant without having everything run away in weeds. And I think you would have to look at it. Okay, we had the biology. Okay, now it's decimated, but it's still, if we have, say, I like to say kilo per hectare because that's what farmers understand. If I get 600 kilo fungi per hectare, and then I plow and I end up with 50 or 60 kilo, that's way more than the 1 gram I come with in my compost with 10 kilo per hectare. And 10 kilo of hectare can get to 600 kilo in a month. So maybe we should think that, okay, if we definitely have to do the tillage that is necessary to make sure we can control the weeds. And then small steps, we can do all these 6 regenerative practices, but with organic, I think tillage is a good thing, but plowing is a good thing. The onion grower has a very good way of doing it, and I checked, it was only decimated. Only, yeah. But he plow, he come with Rhye on GPS tracks, so he know where the wheel marks are going to be next. And then they rotor harrow, GPS tracks, and then they till, and it's compacted on top of the seeds with the tiller, and it's all done within 2 hours. And that way, he only flicks the soil and then he's left to peace. And that is maybe what we can say to farmers. That is way better than plowing, waiting for it to get dry, harrowing, waiting for it to get dry, harrowing again, and maybe seeding and maybe rolling it. You have definitely killed everything in the top.
And how is that for you, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, we're organic as well, and we haven't sprayed for, 5-6 years now, thankfully. But a bit like Ib, we went through a period of not ploughing, and I think a plough does play a part in our farming rotation. But I think it's quite interesting to see the depth that we're ploughing. We're really shallow ploughing. We do that when we have to press the reset button on a no-till or min-till within our rotation window. I think what I'm really interested in is how we know how we can improve the biology in our fields, and how quickly, as it has beautifully shown us tonight, how quickly that can happen. I want to take that a bit further and say, okay, so we know we can get there. What form of cultivation then destroys it? And what's the most harsh way of doing it? As Ib said, if you plow, cultivate again, drill, roll, harrow, whatever you do, where's that taking your numbers of biology in your soil? So we're really looking at, okay, so we've plowed this field shallow and we've drilled literally straight after the plow. And then I know what the state of the field was at the beginning, because I've done a soil test through the SMAP. And then as soon as we've cultivated, 2 or 3 days later, take another soil result. And then every 2 weeks, we take some more, and then we apply an extract. So a real good look at what that journey's been like for that cultivation and just how damaging it has been. But I think there's going to be so many different ways of looking at that, whether it's wet, whether it's dry, whether it's cold, whether it's warm, and what cover crops you're maybe ploughing in, whether that has a real impact. So we don't use any herbicides at all, thankfully. And certainly the farms I work with, they're kind of on the same journey as I've been on. So I've not really had an experience with that, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and you touched on a good point, Nick. That's the follow-up question from Claire. Do you guys use clovers or any other type of cover crop in your process?
Yeah.
How this work for you guys?
Yeah, well, it's been great for us, but as Ib rightly says, a well-established clover will will dry you out and will take over. We use, and we're playing with the recipe, but we use as a cover, or we're trialing pasture cropping where we do have the strips. And Ib is quite right. We've done it now for 4 years, and we've not harvested a thing in 4 years on one field. But I'm sure it's the biology we've got wrong. We are such a low level with our biology, and we use a small amount of clover, berseem, a small amount of clover. Then we use shepherd's parsley, burnet, and some plantain as our kind of like holding. And we find actually after a plough or a cultivation, they come back within the crop. So by harvest the following year, they've re-established at no cost, no extra seeding cost. So we get kind of 1 or 2 or 3 bites of that cherry, but it's how we manage that throughout the growing season, and also when we change crops. That's what we found so far.
Beautiful. And how about you, Ib? How do you use cover crops?
Clovers. Almost half the fields are for grazing, because we have horses at the school as well, and they are with clover. And all my what do you call it, manure crops that are planted in the spring they are also with clover. It may be not a good idea to plant red clover if you wanted to seed at the same time like the grains, because they have a chance. If it's wet, they will definitely be at the same height as a corn when you harvest. And white clovers are not so aggressive. And but we have a 10-way mix that it's an organic seed company that has mixed a 10-way mix called CN4. And that actually works. It is not coming up to destroy the crop, but it's still green when you're harvesting in the bottom.
Beautiful. So I really appreciate everyone that submitted the questions. We had a lot of them, and unfortunately, we don't have time to answer all of it. I really thank you, Ib and Susan, for this beautiful presentation. I learned a lot, and of course I'm gonna have to rewatch because there is a lot of details that I need to recapture. And on this webinar series, which we're talking about impactful careers in soil regeneration, last week we saw the webinar with Nick, and he covered his large-scale compost and regenerative farming. You can watch the replay on our website. Today, we just heard from Ib how he's working with his experiments, inventing machines and equipments. Thank you, Ib, for that. It's just beautiful work you guys are doing. Thank you so much. And next week, we invite you guys to join in the same day of the week and same time to hear from Reynold Flores about his experience with tobacco farming. He's working in large scale with tobacco, and he will talk with us about his cutting fertilizer costs and keeping the yields steady. Stay tuned, it will be an amazing webinar. And then on the week after that, pay attention, that will be a different day of the week, same time, but a different day of the week. We're gonna hear from Todd Harrington, how he works with ecological land care on his consultant playbook. A lot of you know Todd Harrington work, especially if you are on FC courses. You hear from Todd on the Governor's Island case. And in 2 weeks, we're gonna hear about his career, how he's using all his knowledge on the consultant path. So don't forget, just dive in on our website, and you guys can rewatch any webinar recording, and stay tuned for next week, same day and same time. Oops, sorry. And I just want to use this time to thank you, every attendee that joined us today, and open the space for Ib for your last message of this webinar.
I can say the last message would be that Susan has been my PA through all this. She was my PA and accountant when we were farmers, and she's also my accountant now. And it's when you set up with this as a thing outside your normal work, you need to have a little bit of help. I'm also lucky she's an engineer, because I can get a little bit hot when I can't get the computer to work. And but it's I think it's a good thing to be two on, and what do you call it? I think this it just a journey. We are still on it, and luckily there's more people in Denmark that I can speak with who's also on the course, and it's a good idea. We have the same basic, and we just we know what to expect and what to find, and we learn from each other's mistakes, and I think that's a good force. As at the moment, we're not in we don't need to be in any big rush to push each other off the pier, because there's, hang on a little bit, there's going to be a lot of farmers who wants to come this way, and I think we just need a lot more consultants out there, because I can see that in the few years, now 2 years that I've been educated, and I started to go out and speak to farmers and in organic organization, etc. There is a lot of people who want to listen to this. They just, many of them say straight from start, I can see myself in this, but I can't see myself in trying to make extract, no compost, because I just don't want a headache. I want not to buy the jug in the box, but I want to have the free time I have, and I want to just be able to use this. And I think we can, I can see the future will be that there will be some farmers that instead of cows, which is much the same as microbes, they need to be built and looked at every day. And I guarantee you, a lot of those people who are used to look after animals, they have the skills to look after compost. And so it can grow from there, I'm sure. And I can also see contractors and everything that could be to taking this out, and consultants to come around and do a soil test here, there, and set up small experiments on the farm so they actually can see that they make a difference. Because that, if it's only 10% and you can't see it with the eyes, then you maybe say, oh, I don't want to bother that next year. But if you have something weighable, you can say, okay, this actually pays money. I will carry on with this.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Ib. Nick, which are your last tips for the day?
Use that microscope. Just keep on practicing. Use that microscope at any point, whether it's before you apply, when you're making your compost. Just keep on getting the hang of it. I just absolutely love my microscope. I have 2 of them, one in my office at home, one in my office at work, and just love sitting, looking at stuff and learning as much as I possibly can through my microscope.
Thank you. And we have Dr. Elaine back. Elaine, which are your suggestions and tips for the day?
Well, for today, I'm going to go right down the same pathway. Use that microscope. That's the way you make a lot of money at this, because you don't have to spend hours and hours and hours. Well, now, and then there are those times where I get so caught up in the beauty and in the patterns and everything that's going on, and you're cheering for that little flagellum to make it far enough away from that ciliate trying to get it. So it's a lot of fun. I mostly have to pull myself away from the microscope and say, You are only going to be spending 10 minutes on this, and then you've got to go on to the next sample. So gotta get real, just like mom.
That's true. And my tip is that I reward myself for every hour of microscope work that I focus on the sample. What I need to check, I allow myself an extra half an hour just having fun, just chasing the microbes under the microscope, because we're always going to have new things to see.
Yep.
So said that, I want to thank all the Soil Food Web School staff that made this webinar possible. This series is amazing. Thank you, everyone. We know the backstage is always crumbling with a lot of things. Thank you for the amazing support. And don't forget, next week, same day, same time, we see all of you here again. Have a great week. Enjoy your time in your microscope and go make a good compost. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Don't forget to click that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notification bell to stay updated with all our new videos.